Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I am really excited to do this class about oil safety and usage. This is one of the most common types of questions I get about okay, I have my oils, but how do I know what's safe and how do I know what to use? And I don't want to do anything wrong and I don't want to hurt my family and all that stuff. And I totally get it. And so I just wanted to do a class for our group so that we have it in our group. So as people are added and you've got friends who get their kid and stuff, that we can tag people in the comments in this video, and it will live in our group forever, which is great. And I'm going to try to download the video and upload it to YouTube so you could even send it to somebody who isn't in the group in the future. But I wanted to just take a few minutes and go over some really quick and practical safety guidelines. I feel like the number one thing I want to leave you with is just encouragement to not be afraid to use your oils. Don't be afraid of your oils, especially if you got a Young Living starter kit. If you have Young Living oils at your house, you have the best of the best. You chose right. You chose the very best oils that you could possibly get. You chose the oils that have the seed to seal guarantee behind them, that have that standard, that process, that quality control that you can't find with any other company. And so you already chose the very best that you can possibly get. You chose oils that are backed by a company that is driven by science and standards and research, and that is promising to deliver you the purest oils that you can possibly find, that are safe for your body and that are therapeutic for you and your family. And so don't be afraid of your oils, because here's what you'll find. When you start questioning what oil is safe to use or what should I use or whatever, and you just go to Google and you find a random mommy blog and talks about oils, and you're like, okay, great, this person's going to help me learn what I can do with my oils for my kids, or what I should use. You're going to find people on the internet who write blogs, who claim to be aromatherapists and things like that, that are going to speak very authoritatively about the dangers of oils. You're going to find lots of people who talk about how dangerous oils are, and how no matter what somebody tells you, that there is no difference between oils from any other company, and that all oils are super potent, all oils have these inherent dangers, that oils pose risks to children, that oils, there are all kinds of reports out there about people who are dying and injuring themselves with oils, and all this stuff. And so I have a lot of people, not a lot of people actually, but occasionally I'll have people who come to me and they're like, I found all this stuff about oils and I thought that they were going to be safe and good for my kids, and now I'm scared to use them. What am I supposed to do? And so here's what I want to tell you. First of all, most of the reports that you hear online about people who are being harmed by oils, or have injuries or have whatever reactions or something like that, most of those are not involving Young Living essential oils. Most of those, I don't even know if they ask what the brand was. So usually we don't even know what the brand was. Usually it's something from the grocery store, something from, the bulk Whole Foods, or some sort of online retailer or something that they got it for cheap or whatever. And so we know that most of those oils are adulterated. They're not pure. They're not really verified to have the constituents that they're supposed to have. And so we don't know where those oils came from. And second of all, most of those reports are coming from ingesting very large quantities of those oils, and that is what is causing the harm. And I want to tell you right now that no one who has a sound mind and practice using essential oils is going to ever recommend you ingesting large quantities of essential oils. And so if you find somebody who suggests that you do that, I suggest you don't take their advice, because that's not good advice. One of my favorite resources, and I share a lot of her stuff into our group because I really appreciate what she has done for the field of aromatherapy, is Dr. Lindsay Elmore. She is a pharmacist, and so she's very familiar with how drugs and substances react and are processed in the body, because basically a pharmacist has to know how every single drug is going to be metabolized through your system and what it's going to interact with. And so I didn't really know that pharmacists were trained in that, or that that's what their area of expertise was, but it totally makes sense. So she has extensive knowledge and research and study about how oils not only react and interact in the body, how they react and interact with drugs, how they're metabolized, what the enzyme pathways that they take. Like, she's so stinking smart. And so a lot of her evidence and the stuff that she teaches and the way that she cites those articles and explains what's really happening, and some of the reports that you hear people saying, oh, this person died from ingesting blah, blah, blah oil, so you should never ingest oils. And she really separates the truth and the facts and the hype and the hearsay from that. And so I definitely recommend her as a resource instead of just a random mommy blogger who is scared, or especially somebody who is a random aromatherapist who is trying to build their own type of business on the internet by using clickbait articles and by using media hype that makes you scared of essential oils, because they are trying to find people who are going to pay them for their services, right? Like, I feel like we have to kind of divide and be discerning when it comes to who we're going to trust on the internet and who we are going to, put all of our eggs in their basket. And if somebody is an aromatherapist who has their own brand of essential oils that they are trying to sell you and trying to convince you is better because they're getting a kickback on it too, and if they're slamming another company, if they're saying that all of these other brands are not telling you the truth and all of these other people are telling you unsafe usage, and so you should believe me because I'm an aromatherapist, and so therefore what I tell you to do is that you should pay me to tell you what oils to use and how to use them safely. And that's a lot of what happens. And so I feel like a lot of fear mongering goes on the internet, to be perfectly honest, where people use scary sounding titles like what essential oils will give you cancer. And then hope that you don't actually read the article, because when you read the article, you find that actually that claim is completely unfounded, even in their explanation. And kind of by the end of their own blog post, they're saying that, this really isn't going to happen unless you ingest huge quantities and you already are predisposed to have this kind of reaction to this type of thing and blah, blah, blah. But they know that most people are going to read an article's title and freak out and think, oh my goodness, essential oils could give me cancer? What? And not even read the entire thing. And so I encourage you not to be that type of consumer, to really have a sound mind and a discerning spirit when you go out to the internet and try to find oil safety and usage, and decide who you're going to believe. Are you going to believe people like a pharmacist with a doctorate in pharmacy who is really trying to produce evidence-based research and education about essential oils, and people who are using their oils safely on an everyday basis and really trying to help people? Or are you going to try to believe somebody who is somewhat hateful in their speech, somewhat fear-mongering in their tactics, and really trying to push forward an agenda of their own that may or may not be helpful and doesn't really offer you any kind of help? So I just want you to keep in mind those things, because you will find a lot of fear-mongering if you just go to the World Wide Web and do a Google search and all this stuff. Most of the reports that they are going to be citing are one-time instances, and therefore the warning applies to all people. And most of them are involving ingesting large quantities of essential oils, and that's not how we are typically using them. A lot of the studies that are going to be cited are using them on animals and using them in very, like dropping an essential oil directly on the exposed uterus of a rat or something and then seeing what happens. Well, that's never going to be the way that we're administering that oil to a human. And so, one, we're not rats, and two, we're not ever going to administer it that way. And so therefore, is that study really valid, or can we use our rutavala oil safely on our feet, topically diluted, knowing that that's not going to be the way that we're using the oil? So some common sense goes a really long way. I really appreciate actually reading the articles myself, or finding an explanation of the evidence and the data itself, instead of just taking someone's word for it that, oh, this oil is dangerous. Well, I want to know why. I want to know what has been studied about that oil that actually is claiming that it's dangerous. And usually what I find out is that it's not, and that it has been basically exaggerated in many ways. So I want you to remember that a lot of people are going to tell you on the internet that there is no difference between oil brands. And so they're going to say that Young Living representatives give you a very unsafe usage recommendation. And what I want to tell you is that there are like over 2 million Young Living users all over the world. And what we know from using oils, and many of us have used different oils from different brands to see if there is a significant difference. And there is a significant quality difference between Young Living and other brands of essential oils. There just is. There are too many people who have done their own self-experimentation of trying a different brand of an oil and seeing it not work for them at all, or them having a reaction to something that's inside that oil, versus people who then switch to the Young Living brand and they say, oh, it totally did what it was supposed to. It totally helped me sleep. It totally helped my skin. It totally helped my son's behavior. It totally helped, me lose weight. It totally helped my stress level. Those kinds of things. And so it doesn't really matter to me what anybody else says about there's no significant quality difference, because I know for a fact that there is a significant quality difference with Young Living oils. And so I try to make sure that when I am doing research on safety and how to use things, that I'm actually specifically looking for a Young Living person who's had an experience with it that's going to educate me about it, because I know that there is a significant quality difference with a Young Living oil. It's kind of like, the way I think of it is, it's kind of like saying, well, a hamburger is not healthy for you, and then realizing that there are lots of different varieties of hamburgers, and so there's a huge difference between if you got a 100% organic grass-fed beef hamburger that was raised on a farm where it was loved and it was cared for and it was humanely butchered, and then you prepare it really well with the great seasonings and take such good care to prepare it, and you put it on this delicious bun with all these awesome toppings, and you make like hand cut organic fries and all this stuff, and you serve this really beautiful, really pure, where it came from, that you can trust the butcher and the person who prepared it, and they're a really, really good cook, and know that it has nutrients and benefits to you and it's going to be amazing, versus a McDonald's Happy Meal where it's got full of not even real meat. It has processed fillers, it has dyes, it has extra stuff added to it, preservatives and flavor enhancers and all this fake stuff that's added to the McDonald's hamburger versus the homemade 100% grass-fed organic beef hamburger, right? Like, there just is a significant quality difference. And so we can't just call a hamburger a hamburger. We have to know exactly what we're getting and if we can trust what we're getting. So hopefully that makes sense, that analogy a little bit. But okay, so let's move on. Young Living, basically, Young Living is about empowering you to use essential oils and to use natural products as a lifestyle in your home so that you can improve the health of yourself and your family. And they're not about making you a slave to an aromatherapist who wants you to pay them to tell you what oils you can and can't use. And so, again, what our heart is to educate you and to empower you to use these, to know what to do, to know how to use them safely, without having to ask somebody, is this safe? Or ask somebody, how do I use this? Like, you have resources that we put in your hands. You have, either you have the Essential Oils Pocket Reference book, or you have, other books, other reference tools. You have the Life Science Publishers app, a lot of you do now. And those have safety sections that give you really sound advice on how to use your oils safely. And so I don't want you to wait until you feel like you know everything about safety and usage, or you feel like you know exactly what oils are safe to use and, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of your oils are safe to use. There are a few precautions. If you're pregnant, you might need to know a few to stay away from. And if you have really young children, I'll talk about which ones to stay away from at the end of this video. But other than just knowing a few that you would want to stay away from in those phases of life, your oils are safe and you can use them as long as you're using common sense and a few really practical safety precautions like carrier oil and things like that we'll talk about. So I want you to be empowered. I don't want you to feel like you have to go ask an aromatherapist in a Facebook group who hates every other oil brand except for the one that they happen to be selling. And who is always referring you to their own blog where they wrote some sort of authoritative article about different things. When you can do your own research, you can look up in your books, you can look up in your app and find the safety information that you need to be able to use your oils safely. Okay, So just use some common sense. Use your reference materials. You have the app, you have the book. If you don't have those things, if you don't have those reference materials that I'm talking about, please reach out to me and we will hook you up with either your enroller or you can purchase those from me. But I firmly believe everyone in this team should have at least an Essential Oils Pocket reference book or the Life Science Publishers app. They both have great safety sections that you can look through. They're very thorough and you can follow those directions if you need to. So I want to mention, especially kind of in our day and age where we have a lot of young living people who are building businesses and are on, writing their own blogs and things like that, that just like I don't want you to trust implicitly somebody who just claims that they're an aromatherapist, I also don't think that you should just implicitly trust a young living distributor who tells you to do something with your oils. You have to use the safety precautions that we'll talk about today that are in your books, that are in the app, and not just implicitly say like, oh, well, they're from Young Living, so I trust them implicitly to tell me what to do. Because I will say that Young Living representatives do sometimes get a bad reputation for not using oils very safely and making unsafe recommendations. I think most of that is hype because people don't understand that our oils really are better than every other brand. But I do think that sometimes Young Living people don't dilute on their kids, never dilute on themselves, and take maybe too many internally and things like that. And they're fine with doing that, but we can't make that an across the board thing that we recommend to everyone as they're getting started. And so if somebody says something to you, even if they're a Young Living person, and you think, that kind of makes me uncomfortable thinking about doing that myself. I don't really want to take 15 drops of Thieves at one time. Don't. You have common sense inside of you and you are empowered to make your own decisions. And so if you feel uncomfortable with anything that anybody is recommending to you, you get to choose what you listen to and what you do and what you don't. And so I want to, again, empower you to use your own common sense, to use your own mommy gut, to use your own intuition, and to use the reference guides that have the safety information. And I've never seen any of those recommend anything unsafe, honestly. They always have very, very sound advice about using your oils safely and making sure that you can enjoy them for a really long time. So, okay. Let's talk about getting started using oils. What is the key to using your oils effectively at first is starting low and slow. That's what I recommend a lot, especially as people are just getting their kits and they're very excited about all of their oils. Starting low and slow. Some people are very cautious by nature and other people are very gung-ho by nature. And so I recommend it to both people because some people feel like they needed to know all the information before they ever even open a bottle of oil. And then some people have used all 11 oils before they even tell me that they got their kit. And they've put all of them on their body and they've diffused all of them, already. And so there's just two kind of different ends of the spectrum. So my recommendation is to start low and slow. And what I mean by that is that you use just a few drops at a time and you use them kind of spread out over time instead of all at once. So going low, starting low with a few amount of drops and slow as over time, not everything all at one time. If you have sensitive skin, I recommend trying your single oils first. So that's your lemon, your lavender, peppermint, frankincense, copaiba, and that's all. I think you get 5 singles in your starter kit. So start with your 5 singles because those are just those one individual oil in the bottle. Test those on your skin, see how they feel, use a carrier oil with them, do a little patch test on them, and then separate that by a few hours at a time to give it time to absorb into your skin and all of that. And then try your blends. So then all the rest of the oils, try them one at a time. Use a carrier oil, do a patch test somewhere on your skin. See how you react. See if you need to add more carrier oil, if it feels hot. See if you like the smell of it, how it makes you feel, all that stuff. So start low and slow. Start with one oil at a time, especially if you have sensitive skin, because if you're needing to figure out okay, am I going to react to any of these, then you'll want to know instead of just putting all of them all over you at once. It's important to remember that essential oils work against chemicals that are in your body, and chemicals build up. There is such a thing as bioaccumulation in your body, and depending on how toxic of a lifestyle or how toxic the ingredients are, in your home and in your personal care products and in the things that you're applying to your skin on a daily basis, you could have a lot of a bioaccumulation of toxic products in your body. And so sometimes when people start using their oils, they have what we call a detox reaction, and they might get a rash, they might get a headache, they might, start to feel sick or something like that. And we don't want to like minimize or dismiss that, because it is a valid thing that's happening in your body. But we also want to make sure to just remind you that it's not like the oils are harming you. They are doing their job. They are doing a very good thing. They're just alerting you. Those symptoms are just alerting you that there is something going on in your body, this bioaccumulation that has happened of the toxic products in your body that the oils are trying to work against. And so you really need to be intentional about removing toxins from your life, and especially from your personal care products that are going on your skin, especially from the food that you're eating, and ingesting the things that you're ingesting. You need to make sure that those are free of toxic chemicals as soon as possible, because your oils are going to continue to react and to work against those things. So recommendations, double your water intake, because that's going to help flush the toxins out of your system faster. You should probably hold off on using your oils for a few days, double your water intake and see if that helps, and then start again, start low and slow. You might consider doing an internal cleanse, like the cleansing trio from Young Living, to cleanse your gut and really start getting that stuff out of your body that is toxic from your intestines and from all of your organs. Is going to help your body just run cleaner. And so if you continue having reactions and you suspect that maybe your gut health is an issue anyway that you need to work on, I would hold off maybe on the oils for a little bit, get the cleansing trio or some sort of cleansing program, and do a cleanse of your internal system for a few days, so that you're really running with a pristine system, or as pristine as possible in our day and age. But that is a recommendation that Lindsay Elmore has recommended, and the Essential Oils Pocket Reference has recommended, is doing an internal cleanse, because that should help your oils not react on your skin. Okay, also, last thing is if you have a detox reaction, you need to stop using commercial, mainstream, store-bought lotions, soaps, makeup, creams, ointments, things on your skin as soon as possible, because the oils are going to continue to react with the toxic ingredients that are in those things, and we don't want that happening. So that would be a first order of business, is to really start cleaning up your personal care products that are going on your body, because if you're applying your oils topically and you're reacting to those, and you're continuing to put lotions that have parabens and propylene glycol and all these nasty ingredients on them, then you're just going to be continuing to fight that battle. So a couple suggestions if you do have a detox reaction, to double your water intake and then really try to clean up what is going on your skin. And you might have to consider doing an internal cleanse to really clean out your gut, and that will run better. Okay, we have 3 main ways that we use our oils, so I'm going to talk about some safety guidelines for each of those 3 ways. So the first thing we're going to talk about is diffusing safety. So again, start low. When you pop out your diffuser, fill it with water. The first few times that you do it, especially as you're getting used to your oils and seeing how they make you feel and things like that, start low. Only diffuse a few drops at a time. You don't need to diffuse 15 drops your first time in your diffuser. I don't care how much you love the smell of RC. You don't want to overload yourself and your family with 15 drops of RC at once. You can do 2 or 3 in your diffuser. See how it makes you feel, see how well it helps your respiratory system and all that stuff. And then you can work up to more, okay? Different diffusers have kind of different, I would say, thresholds of oil. Some of them diffuse stronger, some of them run for longer. So like the Desert Mist diffuser, the Aria diffuser, you can use more like 10 to 15 drops of oil. The Home diffuser and the Dewdrop, I really only ever do like 5 to 7 at the most still, even 4 years later. So just kind of see how you feel, see how much you like the smell, and you can work up to whatever you want. But when you're first starting, don't do like a ton. Just do like 2 or 3 drops at a time and see how it goes. Number 2, allow animals to leave the room if they want to. So don't like lock your cats in a room with your diffuser. Let's not even go there with cats, okay? But allow your animals to leave, because they have intuition, and if they don't like the smell of something, or if they know that that's not good for them, then they would need to be able to escape. So don't lock your animals in a small enclosed place. Also, don't lock your children in a small enclosed place with the diffuser. Please don't put them in a tiny room with a diffuser with 10 drops of oil in it and then shut the door and leave them in there, because that's going to overwhelm their little senses and their olfactory nerves and all of that. So if you're going to be diffusing and with a closed door, make sure that it's a large room. If you're going to close the door, make sure you use fewer drops so that it's not going to be overwhelming the air in the room. Okay. The oil bottle labels are going to have guidelines for diffusing if they are a oil that can be diffused. The Vitality oils don't have the diffusing instructions on them, FYI. So, but this, I have a bottle of Abundance here, for example, and this one says diffuse up to 1 hour 3 times daily. Now that might seem a little bit confusing, because you're like, wait, I have to shut my diffuser off after an hour? I'm not going to remember to do that. So the bottles of oils are actually referring to old school diffusers called nebulizing diffusers, and some people still have them, and they're awesome because they deliver straight oil with no water into the air. They're very potent, so they're great. But what we have from our starter kits are ultrasonic cool mist diffusers that diffuse oil and water in a microvapor. So for the most part, you're going to be able to put some oil drops in your diffuser with your water and turn your diffuser on and let it run until it shuts off, and it'll shut off automatically. So you're not necessarily going to have to worry about needing to turn off your diffuser after 10 minutes with a strong oil or something like that. If you feel like the oil is smelling too strong or something, you can shut off your diffuser after 10 or 15 minutes. That's totally fine. Or if you get a nebulizing diffuser, then you will want to abide by the instructions on the oil label, because that is taking into consideration that there is no water to dilute the oil into the air and to disperse it into the air. And so the nebulizing diffuser, if you ever get one, Young Living has one, I think. I don't have one. I kind of want one. But if you ever have that type of diffuser, you will want to look at those guidelines on the back of the oil bottle so that you're not dispersing 80 drops of oil into your house all at once, because that would be a lot. So with your ultrasonic diffusers, you're fine to put 3 or 4 or 5 drops of oil in your dewdrop diffuser or your home diffuser and let it run for 3 or 4 hours until it's going to run out of water and shut off automatically. Then you'll just clean it out and you can use a different oil the next time. No problem. Oils to avoid diffusing around really tiny babies would be anything hot and anything all that strong. So I would avoid personally peppermint, wintergreen, spearmint, any of the eucalyptus oils for a baby who's under 3 months. I would avoid thieves, cinnamon bark, cassia, oregano. That's probably all that I would avoid. Making sure that you're checking the blends for those oils as well, just to make sure that you're not diffusing anything that's going to be too strong for an immature respiratory system. Older kids are probably usually fine with those things, especially in a large room. But if you have an itty bitty baby at your house that you just brought home from the hospital, I would stick with oils that are safe for all ages and that are very gentle and are not going to have strong effects on the respiratory system. So I would avoid those oils for the first few months and then kind of gradually start to introduce them one at a time with your diffuser. Okay, topical safety. Topical application is probably one of the, in my opinion, safer application methods diffusing is obviously the most benign. But diffusing is also, if you're just diffusing your oils, you might not be seeing the results that you're wanting to see with them. And so topical application is my personal favorite, and I feel like it's very safe, but I also feel like it has to be done with the most common sense, because sometimes people get a little crazy with topical application. And so just a few reminders about topical application. The most important thing to remember is that carrier oil is your friend. I realize that it's much easier to be lazy and to just pour drops of oils from our essential oil bottles directly onto our skin wherever we want, and to not have to find the coconut oil or whatever. But I promise you, carrier oil is your friend because it's going to make your oils last longer. It's going to dilute your oil so that it protects your skin. And that is important because it is possible. Essential oils are very potent plant extracts, and so it is possible for your skin to become sensitized from the constituents that are in an essential oil over time if you're not using a carrier oil to help protect your skin and to dilute those constituents so that they're actually being absorbed into your body. Because especially a lot of oils have very strong constituents like oregano and peppermint and cinnamon and things like that, which we want our bodies to experience those benefits, but sometimes our skin is just too sensitive to handle those constituents. And so the coconut oil or the carrier that we use is going to help to dilute those molecules so that they're actually absorbed into our body instead of just bothering the surface of our skin. So carrier oil is your friend. Keep some on hand. Grab some on Amazon. You can use the solid coconut oil from, Costco or Amazon or Walmart or wherever. It melts when it touches your skin, so it kind of becomes a little cream. You can use liquid coconut oil. I have that right here. I have it in a pump bottle on my desk. Fractionated coconut oil. This stuff stays liquid. So it is a little bit more processed than the unrefined coconut oil that's solid at room temperature. But this is great for filling roller bottles or just pumping into your hand and massaging into a certain area with your essential oils. The key with topical application is early and often, not a lot. If a little does a little good, a lot will do a lot of good. Okay, so instead of having the mindset of, oh, well, my neck really hurts, and so instead of doing 1 drop of peppermint, I'm going to do 15 drops of peppermint because that's how I feel. That's how uncomfortable I feel right now. That's not the right mindset to have when using your oils. You need to just say, okay, my neck is starting to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to use my peppermint and my Panaway oil, and I'm going to put 1 drop of each with a carrier oil, and then I'm going to do it again in 30 minutes. Because that is early and often. That is attacking the issue early on before it gets so bad that it's like unbearable and you can't get on top of it. And it's doing it frequently with a few drops of oils at a time instead of tons of drops of oils at a time. You're going to waste your oils doing that. It might be too much for your skin to handle, so you'll have, kind of a sensitivity reaction by putting that much essential oil on it, because all of that oil has to go somewhere and it's trying to get into your body, trying to get into your skin, and that's just a lot for your body to process at once. So go again low and slow, early and often. Just do 1 to 2 drops of an oil with a carrier oil on wherever you need the support, and then repeat every 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, as often as you need. As soon as you stop feeling the effects of the oil, it's probably safe to go again and reapply. Oils metabolize very quickly in the body. They're usually completely out of your system within 3 or 4 hours. And so you don't necessarily have to wait 6 to 8 hours to reapply. You can reapply as often as you need to. So that is good advice for not overdoing it with your oils topically. With children, there was a really good website that Kelly Locke posted in our group. I'm going to try and bump that post, and I don't know, I probably will add it to the pinned post here because I really liked that as a resource. But it was basically a topical dilution calculator where you could put the oil, how old the child was, and there were a few other things that you plugged in, and it would tell you how many drops of essential oil and carrier oil you should use. It was awesome. So bookmark that when I bump that post, or if somebody wants to find it and do it for me, that would be awesome. But there was a website where Kelly posted that calculator that was so helpful, because sometimes with kids, we want to be more exact with knowing exactly how much carrier oil we should use. And that's totally understandable. With kids, we want to make sure that we're using them safely on them and not overwhelming their systems, because they might not always be able to tell us. So with kids, my guideline is to at least double the recommended amount of dilution. Again, on the bottles, it will tell you on the labels what the recommended dilution is for an adult. So for abundance oil, it says dilute 1 drop with 1 drop of carrier oil and apply to desired area as needed. So that would be for an adult. So for a kid, I would do at least twice that, depending on the age. But that calculator was really helpful because it'll give you a specific amount of drops of oil and drops of carrier oil to use, depending on the age of the child, which is super helpful. In my opinion, dilution does not have to be exact. I have never found that an oil is more or less effective if I use more carrier oil because I need it to spread further or be more comfortable, or if I need to use a little bit less. A lot of oils are safe to use neat without any carrier oil sometimes on your skin. But I do think there is a risk if you're using your oils without carrier oil all the time on your skin that you're going to develop a sensitivity and not really be able to use that oil all the time For instance, thieves, I can really only take it internally or put it on the bottoms of my feet, or it turns my skin red. And the reason is, when I first started using oils, I was too lazy to use carrier oil, and I was putting thieves all over myself. And what didn't bother me at first eventually started to break my skin out into like red kind of itchy patches. And so I sensitized my skin to thieves. So now I have to use a lot of carrier oil and make sure that I'm applying it only to my feet or internally, and it doesn't bother me. So I want you guys to be able to avoid having that happen and not have to worry about being sensitized or anything like that with your oils. So just use your carrier oil. If it feels uncomfortable on your skin, add more. You can always add more, and that's not going to make your oils less effective at all. It's just going to help to protect your skin, to make it more comfortable, and it's a really good idea. So keep some carrier oil on hand, keep some in your purse or however you need to do it. Okay, so next let's move on to ingesting, internal application, and that's our last thing, and then we're going to be done with this little video. So, okay. Again, the most important safety precaution I can give you about ingesting essential oils is to only be ingesting Young Living essential oils. Because again, with other brands, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know about the purity. They're not verified by anything. Even if they're tested, they're maybe not being tested as thoroughly as Young Living's are, because our machines are state of the art, the best of the best in the entire industry, and the most thorough. And so we're really testing for any kind of contamination that could be harmful to you, and really verifying that our oils are 100% pure. And you only want to be ingesting an essential oil if it is 100% pure. So only ingest your Young Living essential oils. You can know which ones are safe to ingest by following the Vitality line. If they have the white label on the bottle and are labeled as Vitality, you know that it's safe to ingest. As with all of the methods, start low and slow. There is absolutely no reason for you to ingest 10 drops of essential oil your very first time. I would start with 1 drop of essential oil in a capsule and then work up to maybe 3 or 4 and see how you do with it. You might never need to exceed 3 or 4 drops of oil being ingested at one time, and that's perfectly fine. You're going to save your oils, they're going to last longer, and they're still going to work for you. So again, use common sense. Never follow instructions where somebody is recommending that you ingest large amounts of essential oils. If you're ingesting like half a bottle, or most of a bottle, or 1 or 2 or 3 milliliters at a time, that's too much. Essential oils are very potent, and when they're being delivered to your digestive tract, when you're taking them internally, really only 1 or 2 drops at a time, or maybe 3 or 4 or 5 drops at a time at the most, is what is safe. And so when you hear about people talking about ingesting their oils daily, that's what they're doing. They're not ingesting 30 drops of oil at a time by any means. And so when we're talking about adding lemon to our water or adding oils to capsules, my recommendation is starting very low. I still only take maybe 5 to 6 at the most at a time of an essential oil in a capsule. And so I think it's easy to overdo it with ingesting your essential oils, and that's where most people get kind of nervous about, is this safe? Is it safe to be ingesting this much? And so use your common sense, do what you are comfortable with, and know that you just need to start slow and start with a few amount of drops and make sure that they're diluted. If you're filling a capsule and you're putting essential oils inside a vegetable capsule, do a couple of drops of essential oil and then take like a dropper bottle that has a long dropper and fill it with olive oil or coconut oil or whatever, and then fill the rest of that capsule with carrier oil, and then take it by mouth so that you're diluting that oil as it's going into your system and into your digestive tract, because that's going to help dilute it as it encounters all of those tissues. And so when you're taking an essential oil by mouth, you can use it either in food, you can cook with it, or add it to food for flavoring, because that's going to dilute it as well. You could add it to bread, you could add it to milk or rice milk or whatever, or you can add it to a capsule with carrier oil. Sometimes a lot of us will talk about adding different oils to our water and to our beverages. I really only do that with citrus oils and with like peppermint and spearmint sometimes, but I don't really add a lot of the hotter oils. Like I don't really add cinnamon or oregano or something to water and just take it by mouth, because that's not diluting those oils for my system, and I want those hot oils to be diluted when they go into my digestive system. So I personally don't add oregano to tea. I'll add thieves to tea, but I will add it to honey first to dilute it in the honey, and then I'll drink it in tea. But I always try to dilute my oil in something because oils and water don't mix. And so I don't want that oil to just be sitting on top and then I take a big swig of it and it's not diluted in my system. So that's personally how I approach it. Again, I cannot reiterate enough the importance to only ingest Young Living essential oils and to do it with common sense, only a couple of drops at a time at the most. Don't overload your body, don't overload your digestive system with essential oils. Do it a couple of drops spaced out 4 to 6 hours at a time so you have a chance to let the oils that you did ingest get out of your body, metabolize out of your system before you take any more. For instance, different supplements like Inner Defense are just essential oils and coconut oil in a capsule that Young Living already makes. When I am needing to take that to really heavily support my body, I take a capsule of that every 4 to 6 hours because that's allowing it to metabolize out of my system before I take another one. And so just use some common sense like that. And if you, again, ingesting is a common questionable area where people sometimes choose not to, and that's totally fine. Sometimes people wait until they're more comfortable with their oils to start ingesting. I do think that's a good idea. I personally used all of my oils topical and diffusing before I ever started ingesting them. That was my personal preference. I wanted to see how I reacted to them before I ingested them. So you can do that as well and start low and slow and stay low and slow, honestly, for the most safety. Do not allow children to ingest essential oils. I would wait until kids are closer to adult weight to let them ingest essential oils. So don't ever put essential oils in a kid's bottle or water, especially under the age of 2. Their bodies are just too little and they're lacking some of the enzymes that they need to metabolize those and break them down. And so I would wait until a child is closer to 100 pounds before I let them start ingesting essential oils. There are plenty of other ways to support their bodies without them needing to drink or ingest essential oils themselves. So hopefully that kind of eases your mind. Nobody's going to be suggesting that you give your kids capsules of oils here. If you want to, you can, and that's totally up to you. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people have, in Young Living even, have given their kids much younger essential oils internally, and they're totally fine. But my personal preference is that I'm going to wait until my kids are closer to adult weight before they start ingesting oils, and we will just happily use them topically and diffuse around them as needed. So I think that covers almost everything. I'm sure that there's more things that I'll think of later, but I wanted to give a quick overview. This actually has turned out to be longer than I even wanted it to be, but a quick overview. Use your reference materials to remind yourself about safety instructions and usage and all that stuff. I'm also going to share an old blog post that I wrote that it's actually going to be moving over to a new site eventually. But I'm going to share that into the group in the comments of this because it has a lot more thorough bulleted points and reminders and things like that that we can refer to as well for this safety and usage topic. But I hope that that gives you a little bit more confidence and makes you feel empowered to use your oils on yourself and on your kids and to know what you're doing with confidence and not feel like you need to always ask an expert because we want you to be your own expert. We want you to experiment with yourself and really realize and find out and figure out what works best for you and your family with the oils that you have, and really be empowered to use this as a lifestyle choice that lets you have tools in your toolbox that are great and support your health and support your entire family and their bodies in optimal wellness. And so hopefully this has been encouraging and helpful to you. If you have questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll reply to them afterwards. I haven't been able to see any comments this entire video, so I don't know if anybody's talking to me or not, but leave comments and questions and stuff in the comment section below and I will get to them, and then we will have this video forever to share with people as they come into the group. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.